Alright, so a couple of weeks back I started to build my own cookie banner. And the reason is that there are a lot of scenarios where a full-blown consent management platform just doesn't feel right. It feels a little bit overkill to pay monthly for a full consent management platform. And that's why I decided to build my own cookie banner, so I can use that in my own projects, but also to give away for free on my website. And in this week's video, I want to give a short update on where we're at, because I just ended a new development session last week, and I want to show you where we're at. And after that, I'm just going to replay the whole thing for you, because I'm basically developing this on screen. So that part might not be for everyone, but I wanted to give an update first, and then I'm gonna show you the whole thing. All right, so this is how the cookie banner currently looks. Of course, the testing page behind it is very raw, but this is what you can get. So there's a title, there's an image, you have a piece of text, and then if you press Show Settings, you can basically turn on and off these categories. And we created a section in the plugin settings where you can enable all these categories, or you can, so if you're not using marketing cookies, you can just basically disable this. There's also an easy way of translating all this text, and you can also press read more, and this will take you to like a cookie statement or a privacy statement that you have on your site. And we created this box that you can basically include on your site. It's just one line of code, and it fills out this automatically. And currently I haven't set my preferences yet, but if you press this button, you can kind of go back to the cookie banner. You can press accept all, and then you will get the current privacy preferences that you have as a visitor. So functional is required, analytics is accepted, and my consent ID is. I can go back and refuse all. Now everything is set to denied. I can change my preferences and I can show settings. I can accept analytics and deny marketing. If I press save settings, the analytics cookies are accepted, marketing is set to denied. And so this is the current status. I'm going to keep making these videos until the whole thing is done, and I'm going to release it on, you'll hear from me when I release it. Yeah, that's where we're at. And I'm going to play the whole thing from start to finish now for those of you who want to follow along with me developing it. All right, let's go. All right, I'm back. Last week I came up with this list in order to structure the process of refining the cookie banner, and there were a couple of things that I wanted to do. I wanted to do the banner copy, so the text, I already did that. I wanted to finish the styling, which I did. I kind of have some basic tweaks in mind, but mostly done. I wanted to refine styling. Yeah, so finish the styling and then refine styling, yes, and then responsive design. Then we started doing the privacy statement part. So we were hiding the cookie banner there so people can read the statement, and we want to have a piece of code there where people can see their current preferences and where they can open the banner and manage their preferences. So I started that, but then I realized that I was working against myself, so I started cleaning up the code, and I already did a lot of this. So I have made an accept all, denial, save settings. So a lot of this I've already done. I already imported the preferences inside of my code. So I've done a lot of this cleaning up stuff. I want to continue with this, doing a couple of things. One of the things that I want to do here is for accessibility purposes. And that is because inside of the cookie banner I use a lot of display none, display block in my code. Let's see if I can show it here. Yeah, so display none. So the cookie banner by default is hidden, but I'm currently doing that with display none, and I've read somewhere that this is not the accessible way of doing this, that some older browsers for people that are blind or that don't see that well, that this is this is hidden from those browsers. So just to be sure, just to be on the safe side, I'm gonna change that a little bit. So that's something that I want to do. Then there are a couple of settings at the top. Consent version. This setting is meant for those of you who want to, for instance, if you after 6 months you change your cookie policy, and you want to renew people's consent. So even people that gave their consent, you want to renew that. You want them to give consent again. That you can just bump this version, and that as when you save, that all the consent will be renewed. So everyone, both returning and new visitors, will see the cookie banner again. So you can renew their consent, and so that's something that I want to implement because it's currently not working, and I want to test if the settings expiration is actually working. So because people that save their consent, you could set this consent to, well, a year or so, where you save their preferences, but I'm not sure, like after a year, does it really expire? So I wanted just to be sure and test that. And maybe we just go over the code and make it a little bit more pretty. But this is the cleaning up part. Then we want to continue with the privacy statement. I want to do some data layer calls. So because this is really meant for Google Tag Manager, for using Google Tag Manager. So we want to have a couple of data layer calls when somebody renews their, when somebody saves their cookies, denies cookies, etc. We want to, that is something that this will really, this cookie banner should really shine in the context of Google Tag Manager. So this is what I want to spend quite some time on. And then I want to integrate this in Google Tag Manager. I want to basically package it in such a way that it's easily downloadable. So let's make a list here as well. It needs to be easily downloadable. So it's probably going to be a JSON file which you can just download in your GTM container. And I want to make it easy to customize as well. Customizable. So settings plus styles. And I want to, of course, compress the whole thing to make it as small as possible. And I might even store the code somewhere. But that might be something for later. So store code plus landing page, the explanation video, etc., etc. But I'm not going to do that today. This is already quite a lot of things to deal with. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Let's begin. And first of all, the accessibility part. So currently, and let me renew the cookie banner. So just remove this cookie. There you go. Currently, I am hiding the banner with a display none in the source code. I want to remove that. So I'm gonna make a, how would you call this? I forgot the name, but it's basically a CSS class, a utility CSS class that we can just apply to an element, and that element is going to be hidden from the view. So it's going to be clear cookie and then hide. That's going to be the name. And I usually use this CSS tricks article for a good way of accessible the hiding elements. So CSS tricks display none. It's in old places it's tempting to use display none, but don't. So and here's the explanation as well. So just to be sure, we're just going to use this. So and in the cookie banner, instead of doing display none, I'm doing class and then clear cookie hide. And that should work. Yeah, and something is going wrong because I put the display flags in line here, so I need to remove that as well. But I'm gonna basically make a method. So instead of show banner hide banner, I'm just gonna say show element, and then you basically parse in the element that you want to show. So show element, that's a function, and the function is going to be to element and then class list. Can I do remove? Can I do this in ES5? This is probably not possible. So but we're gonna change that later. I just first want to show element, and then I'm gonna hide elements. And why not just do show and hide? I prefer to keep this short. So elements, class list, and then add. Because if you add this class name, it's going to be hidden. If you remove the class name, it's going to, by default, it's visible. So this is how it's going to work. And instead of show banner, I'm just going to say this show and then this dot banner, and that should work. Yeah, fantastic. So let's see if I need to do some default styles, set some default styles here. Yeah, display flex is already the default, so that I don't need to do anything here. Clear cookie, and then whenever you press one of these buttons, there should be some kind of, we should hide it. So this, let's see, button click handler. So probably in the save preferences somewhere. Save preferences. Here it is. And there we have the, oh, we don't have the hide banner here. So hide banner. Let's just remove this. Show banner, hide banner, display. So yeah, here it is, close banner. So in the store preferences, we're just gonna say this hide this banner. So accept all, and then it's gonna hide the banner. And for some reason, it's still visible. And this has probably something to do with specificity, yes. So here, the top and left, yeah, I already see where this is going wrong. So top, left, and then right and bottom here, these we should, in our utility class, we're gonna set right to the default, which is CSS right. What's the default of the right property? It's probably auto. So let's just do auto. Important. And let's do bottom auto important as well. Yeah, now it's working. So the hide class name basically hides this whole thing. And that reminds me of something. Sometimes if a banner pops up, you want to remove the scroll of the page. And currently we don't have a lot of scroll because the page is not so high. Let's make more content here. So I'm just gonna repeat this whole thing a couple of times. So now we have enough content. So this is, if the banner shows, you can still scroll the thing probably. Yeah, you can still scroll. And the question is, do we want to remove that? And I'm just gonna add it to the list. We might solve this later. So fixed scroll whenever banner is active. Yeah, let's do that. So yes, there we go. Let's finish this one, because we currently have removed the display none from the banner itself, but I'm using it on other places as well. So in the code, if I look for display, they're gonna pop up here. Yeah, there you go. So the main content style, so this part, this is where I use a lot of display none. So instead of saying this style, maybe I should just make a toggle class name, because this needs to be, yeah. And then do something like this. So if element class name index of, so this is basically a way of checking, is this already on the element, yes or no? And if it's -1, it is not on the element, so then it should be added, else it should be removed. And we're probably going to change this, because I don't think we can use this in GTM, because again, in Google Tag Manager we're not allowed to use modern JavaScript. We can only use the ES5 version with a couple of exceptions. We might as well just look it up right now. GTM ES5 or GTM JavaScript sandboxed. No, this is in templates, and templates is basically the sandbox version. Oh, we should perhaps we should try. We're gonna keep it like this, and as soon as we're gonna package it in a JSON file right here at the last step, we're gonna solve it. Let's keep it for now. Let's keep it like this. Let's not let's cross the bridge when we get there. Okay. So main content. So as soon as people toggle the settings, we're just gonna say this toggle main content and this toggle settings. Let's see if this works. I show settings, hide settings, show settings, hide settings. So the buttons work, but this doesn't work currently, and that is because we are using display none in their CSS code. So display none, or we're using display none here. Yeah, we are. So let's do this. Clear cookie hide. Show settings, hide settings. So no, it's not working. Clear cookie hide. Let's see if the whole thing works. So console log element, and we should get the 2 elements. So show settings. No, it's not working. 2 errors. Oh, now it's working for some reason. So I do get both of these. I don't have a favicon. Okay. All right. These two work, but for some reason these are not applied. So let's just say clear cookie hide. Console log -1. Perhaps we Oh, if it's not -1, then I should remove. Of course, silly mistake. Number 5000. Here we go. Show settings. Yeah, there you go. So show settings, it's working, and this is a lot easier to read as well. So again, we're going to do the same with the buttons. This toggle, and then like this. So this basically removes the need for this, and we're gonna do the whole list here. So this toggle, so oh, oops. Of course, the buttons also have something like a display none to apply to them probably. So let's go to the buttons in our cookie banner. Yeah, here it is, display none. We're going to remove that, and we're going to remove the hide settings. Instead, we're going to apply a clear cookie hide class to that, and same for this button. So by default, show settings, we have hide settings and save settings. Great. Great. Okay, this is good. We already came, and right now I still have a show and a hide and a toggle class. Kind of wondering if this is necessary. Can I just do? No. I want to be sure that the banner is shown here, and I want to be sure that the banner is. So I'm gonna keep it like this. All right. So that's one thing of our to-do list: hiding and showing through a methods. Consent version, renew consent. This is a little bit boring, but consent version, if somebody accepts the whole thing, and then you bump the consent version, you want to renew all the consent that has been given. So for all the returning visitors, usually they don't see the cookie banner because they've already accepted or they have already saved their preferences. But right now, I want the whole thing to renew because the version is bumped. And I think if I have been paying attention, yeah, in the clear cookie, there's a consent version saved. So I'm just gonna make it like this. If the consent version that's here is higher than the consent version that is stored in the clear cookie, then we're just gonna remove the clear cookie, and we're gonna show the banner, and the whole thing is gonna, yeah, what do you say? We're gonna show the banner, and people need to give their preferences again. So show cookie banner. We should probably do that at the start here. So we're gonna do something like this, and this needs renewal. We're gonna figure out a better name later, but this needs renewal is basically a true or false, and if it needs, so user, if it's true, function, and this is basically the consent version that's set here. So we're gonna do something like if this consent version that is in the settings, if that is higher than or greater than the consent version in the preferences. And the preferences, I don't remember, to be honest. I don't remember if I already imported it. I hope so. That will save me some work. So clear cookie. Let's look in the preferences. Yes, consent version. So I can do this preferences, or yeah, dot consent version, and if that is greater than, then return true, because we need to renew, and else return false. There are some edge cases. So if there are no preferences, we're probably going to need to show the banner as well, but that we're already going to check that here. Consent preferences given or not given is on cookie statement, needs renewal. So just for the sake of preventing errors, needs renewal, because we're going to check this is there, because this is a static value inside of my code. I'm not sure if this is there, so I'm just going to check this preferences is not null, and so I have two values, because if this preferences is null, it needs to just go out of here as quickly as possible, because this is going to return some error. I don't want errors. I want to prevent errors. And currently I have needs renewal should return true. So let's see what's going wrong. So console log, it says false, and that is because this preferences is not loaded yet. Okay, so bring in the cookie preferences, should be at the top, and now we have a true. So in true is says show this banner. No, the conditions here are not good. So if the banner is not null, if preferences are not given, and we're not on the cookie statement, so this should probably be its own line. So this consent preferences given, or this needs renewal. So either the consent preferences are not given yet, or it needs renewal. I hope this is clear. Yeah, and there you go. So now if I accept all cookies, I now have my consent version set to 2. But now if I decide that I want to renew all consent, I just bump the version here, and the banner shows up again. So great, this is good. So this works, the consent version, and I'm gonna set it to consent version 1, and people might mix this up with consent mode version 2, but no, we're gonna leave it like this. Okay. Yes. Well, now, what's next? We're gonna test the expiration. And the expiration by default is now set to a year. Is that... let's see. Where do I reference that? Do I even reference that currently? Settings expiration in days. I currently I've set no expiration. So the setting is there, but it's not working currently. So it's good that we're checking. Probably on store preferences. So here it's just hard coded this here. So this set expiration in days. And by the way, I forgot something to do here on the consent version, renew consent. If the consent needs renewal, we should probably just remove the consent altogether. So I'm second guessing myself if this is really the way. Let's do it different. Let's make it a little bit different. Let's do it like this. So if it needs renewal, then just this delete or remove, or what's the... I have brought in a couple of methods for dealing with cookies. Erase cookie, and we have a cookie name, clear cookie. So in our initialize method, we're just going to say erase. So if it needs renewal, just erase the thing. Just erase the name, because that will erase the cookie, and that will give, and it will look like preferences haven't been given yet. Let's see if this works. So I'm going to accept my cookies. So I have a consent version 1, and let's do consent version 2. No. And why? If this is no. Console log. So it's true. So it needs renewal. That works. And then erase cookie. We're pulling in the cookie name here. Why is the erase cookie not working? Create cookie is not defined. Oh, my erase cookie method. I just copy pasted, but I need to reference the create cookie here with this dot create cookie. And now this is working. Okay. Thank you. So again, I saved. I'm going to accept my cookies. Application, clear cookie. The consent version is set to 2, but I want to renew my consent. I'm going to do that with, yeah, great. And it's immediately going to delete the thing. So that will also prevent trackers from thinking that consent has been given, while in reality we need to renew our consent. So good. So let's set default to 1. If you download the whole thing, it's going to be 1, version 1. But then you can just bump up the version if needed. Okay, let's move on. So now we really have done this expiration. And yeah, I find it really hard to test for expiration if they are set in days. But the whole thing that we should be able to test it if we say accept all. And now the clear cookie has an expiration date here. So let's this is probably the only way to really test if it works. So it expires on March 26. Okay. Give me some space here. So yeah, there you go. So this is exactly this is exactly 1 year from now. Let's just make this 3 days. And I probably should delete this. Okay, this is a nice edge case. This works. Show settings. Let's do marketing. Save settings. Refresh. Clear cookie is here. And we have functional true, analytics false, marketing true. And the expiration is exactly 3 days from now. Okay, so the expiration method works because the expires of a JavaScript cookie is going to be honored by the browser, and probably some browsers will remove this sooner. So Safari, for instance, will probably remove this maybe in 7 days or maybe even in 1 day. I'm not quite sure, but they are quite and it's a cookie size. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's good. We're good. So we have just tested the expiration. Do we want fixed scroll whenever the banner is active? Okay, let's make another utility class. We're gonna say clear cookie active, and we're gonna apply that to the body. And if that is on the body, we can say scroll Y is hidden, and that will probably, so if the banner is active, so here show the banner, we can say document class, body class list add, and we're gonna add that through our script. So we're gonna say clear cookie active. Let's see what happens. So we're gonna remove settings once more, and currently I'm not able. Oh, I'm able to scroll. Why am I able to scroll? Scroll Y is hidden. Unknown property name. Scroll Y is, of course, it's not scroll, it's overflow. So overflow Y is equals hidden. Yeah, and now I'm not able to scroll. I'm thinking perhaps this should be a setting, because this is something that could interfere with your site, and you don't want things to interfere with your site because the banner becomes unusable. So let's make a setting. Let's say prevent scroll while open, and by default that is true. Prevent scroll while banner is visible. It's probably a little long, but I want things to be just super like prevent scroll while banner is visible. I might change this later, but we're gonna just do something like this. and if prevent scroll while banner is visible, we're gonna prevent the scroll. And we're gonna do the opposite. So when hiding the banner, we need to clean that up as well. So accept all, and then it should be able to scroll again. So this could be its own method, where I say this hide banner. So let's do that real quick. And show banner. It's going to be opposite. So add and show this banner. And this show banner method, I can just call it right here. Okay. What's the advantage of this? You are asking probably, well, if you have your own script and you want to make a button that says show banner, for instance, we just want to be able to say clear cookie show banner, and then it shows no matter what. So that is something that I want to do here. I want to give other people the ability to also perform certain actions. Oh, all right. So if the cookie banner is visible, we're currently have a fixed scroll whenever the banner is active. So I'm happy with how the code turned out. And at the end, we're gonna do one more round of just cleaning things up. So, but for now, I'm really happy. So I probably should, because I have two pages. I have an index page and a privacy statement page, and on there I've basically just copied the whole cookie banner. So I'm gonna copy the latest version of cookie banner to the other page here, and we're referencing the style sheet. So for instance, a couple of things that I changed were the clear cookie hide class, for instance. Right here on the old version we had a display none still. So so on the test page we have created a clear cookie settings, and right here I want to fill this in with okay, your current settings are, and then just a list of all the settings that somebody has, and a way to just change the settings. So I think I already... So here, I already started this. So show settings. So if I have the banner settings element, which is the clear cookie settings, which is the, it's here at the top, clear cookie settings, which is just an empty element. So by default, you don't even see it. But if it's there, and if we're on the cookie statement, and we know that if we're on the cookie statement by, I think just the URL that we filled in. So let's find out. Cookie state. Yeah, so the read more URL. If we're on that page, we're on the cookie statement. So it's basically just gonna look in the cookie banner to the link that says read more, this link. And if we're on this page, it returns true. Okay. So let's see. generate settings HTML. So we're here. So if preferences are not set yet, we should do something. So in this case, we probably should just say show settings. But if their preferences have been given, it should say something like this banner settings inner HTML your preferences and change preferences. So currently it doesn't work. So let's see what's going wrong. The console log hoi. Let's see if this is no. Yeah, we're here. So if this read cookie equals 0, so I haven't set any preferences. So let's make the other scenario first. So whenever you're on the consent is not defined. So we have a because if preferences have been set, this is probably the most complex one to build. So we're going to do that first and do the other one second. Consent is not defined. So your preferences, and then I have basically a for loop where I go over the categories, and then for each category I just copied and pasted it in. Because I do have something like I have the preferences just inside of the cookie banner already. Consent is not okay. I'll just do it like this. So I already have the consent here, so I can just look up. I didn't make it myself so easy by making this a piece of text. Probably should have made this a JSON object from the start. Are we going to change that? Yes, we're going to change that. So we need to change that at the root of our where we store our preferences probably. So here we're going to store the preferences, and the consent is just consent to lowercase, and we're going to store the consent. Where is this referenced? It's referenced here. So save preferences here. We're building up a string, and let's just change this to a JavaScript object. So instead of a string, we're not going to do things with commas, for instance, but we're just going to do consent, and then category name equals and here we have 3 scenarios. If you just save your settings, we're going to loop over all the categories, and we're going to just pull in is consent given for that category. So in this case, consent given. If somebody presses accept all, we're just going to loop over and just put everything into true. And then if somebody says deny all, we're going to put everything to false. Or if it's a required category, we're going to put it into true. So here are the 3 categories, and this is still applicable because if the command is settings, so save settings. Let's do save settings. I like that better. So save settings. There you go. Let's see if that still works. So save. Yeah, save settings. We're going to pull in the settings by category name, and then we're going to consent given. We're going to check in that setting to see if the input checkbox is checked. Yeah, I think this works. But now we need to remove our cookies. And I'm going to go into the first page to see our cookie banner, and then under accept all. No, this is not working currently. We have an error. Consent to lowercase is not a function. No, we cannot do consent and then to lowercase on something that is so we cannot do this. And what the reason why I had it to lowercase on here is because the name has this in uppercase, just a readable name, and I want to bring this into a how are we gonna solve this? We might need just a separate line here, just so ID equals functional, something like this. It is a little extra work. We could also do a, we could also make this into because space characters, I don't know if space characters, for instance, are safe in a JavaScript object. So I see two routes. The first route is just to make an ID here, where people can set an ID and that is how it's stored in the cookie, which gives you a little bit more control, but is more work. I also have a method that I use quite often, where you just take a value that is just a string value and then stringify that. So it's going to remove all the funky characters out of there, space characters, and just going to make it a lowercase with dashes. Yeah, I still don't know. Yeah, let's use that. Let's find a good stringify. No, not stringify, slugify methods. And I have used this in the past. No, I've used a method in the past that it might just be able to find real quick. So let's do it off screen because it's gonna be in a okay. Yeah, I'm gonna find that off screen. So let me pull in that method real quick. So snippets, where are you? Kind of recently used that, but I can't really remember which project it was. Yeah, here it is. Slug. No. No, different one. Ah, here it is. I think slug. Yeah, there you go. So here it is. I'm just gonna put it at the bottom. Slugify. So we basically can pull in a name, and that will just be. Let me just show you what it does. So if I do clear cookie and then run slugify, on functional, that will return functional, or functional cookies, that will make it something like this. And if I do cookies and then do like something funky here, it's just gonna sanitize the string value, which makes it a little bit more safe to use in as a key, for instance. Well, functional, and now I need to find a way to apply this everywhere. So when I store the thing, store preferences, and when I get the preferences, I'm just gonna read it from the cookie. Okay. So it's really here on store preferences where I can do this slugify consent. No, it's not true. I should do it here. So category name, because I'm gonna turn this in an ID. So var ID is category name, and we're gonna do this slugify. Whoa, that was slow. Okay, accept all. And right now, clear cookie, we have, instead of a string, we have functional equals true. This is going to make it a little bit harder for us to pull it in from GTM. Don't know if I want that. Well, let's go ahead for now. Let's do console log this preferences. So these are my preferences currently, and instead of a string, I have a kind of a list: analytics true, functional true, marketing true. That is what I have right now, and that makes it a little bit easier to read from JavaScript. All right, and kind of wondering, like all the scenarios, is this really working in every scenario? How am I going to pull in the analytics? How am I gonna pull in the consent later on? Because usually I'm used to the string methods that I implemented previously. Let me see. And also I'm kind of doubting if my stringify, if that is really like the way to go, so to speak. Or if I should do it the other way around, so ID equals functional. Okay, for now, let's go ahead. Let's move on. I do want to test though if this is really working in every scenario. So currently I've accepted everything. Let's deny all cookies. And now functional is true, which is a required one. So that's set to true. Analytics is set to false. Marketing is set to false. This is good. What if I show the settings? And what if I enable marketing? And I say save settings. Marketing is true. Analytics is false. Yeah, let's reverse that to be sure. Analytics, save settings. Analytics true. Marketing false. Yes. Okido. Also, I'm thinking maybe I should include something here where you can say checked true, which makes sure that if you open up the cookie banner, it's going to be checked by default. Some people want to do that. Of course, this also makes it more complicated to use, and might lead to privacy case, because if you set everything to checked and people save, that doesn't make it really consent. So if you're asking consent, people should make an active step, for instance, to enable that category. Okay, might do it later. Let's leave it for now. Let's set that. Let's put it on the list of checked by default. Because I want to make the cookie banner as customizable as possible, but also I want to prevent people from doing something that is not allowed. So that's kind of the balance here that I'm trying to strike. So for me, analytics is usually just part of the functional. Because here in the Netherlands we have an exception. So then I would just remove the analytics altogether and just put it in the functional, or then set analytics to required. So I could do something like required true for analytics as well. And then analytics is just part of, it's just you cannot disable it. It's just always there. So I think this is the way that I want to build it. Okay. Let's see how we're doing. Let's go back to the to-do list. We want a piece of code to see the current preferences. This is where we started. So we're going to accept all cookies, and we're going to go to the privacy statement. Because on here, we're going to list all the settings. So, and that basically means, and let me just console log. I just want to see the preferences for a moment in the console, so we can just know what we're going to pull in. So, and I do this twice. Oh, here I do the same thing. Okay, so I'm gonna remove it here. Yeah, there you are. So we're on the we're here. We're gonna pull in the preferences, and we're just gonna loop over the categories that we have, and then we need to get the ID of the category. So we have a category name, this Slugify, and then we need to do the same thing. So the category ID has a Slugified version. So let me just console log that real quick. So objects. Oh no, of course I need to do category name. I need to close off that line. So functional analytics marketing. So we're gonna pull in the settings. We could do something like make a list. So this should be a div, and then another div, and then the last so we already have a wrapper, by the way, so we don't need a new wrapper, but we're gonna do, yeah, let's do the foot, let's make it a footer. So div, and the privacy statements, the clear cookie settings, let's do class clear cookie settings. So we can make a footer and a header. So clear class equals clear cookie settings footer, and we have a clear cookie settings header. And is this working? Yeah, so we have clear cookie settings and we have a header and a footer, and then in between we're gonna do some content. So probably gonna do a lot of just something like div class equals clear cookie settings body, and then close that off at the end. I'm trying to work quickly, but so we're going to close that off here. So div, close off the div here. There you go. And then inside of this, we're going to make a list or a table. Let's do a table. Gonna close off the table here as well. And then for every category, we're gonna make a row, table row. That of course needs to be closed off as well. So table row. And the table row starts with the name of the category. So that's probably a table head. Can we do this? And then just category name. And then close it off. Not sure. And then so let's pull in the and then we can say something like we make a table cell or table I believe it's TD, and then this preferences consent, and then just do something like this. Let's see if it works. Okay, we have something. So we have a table, and then we have a bunch of, I think it's because this doesn't work. So this needs to be why not do this? Var row equals an empty string, and then at the end say plus equals row. But now we can do row equals, and we can just make it a little bit more simple. We can do row equals row plus, yeah, there you go. And then we can do again this again, row equals row plus, because this is basically the same as row plus equals row plus. For clarity, let's do, yeah. Does this work? No, we're not inside of the table yet. And why is this? Console log row. Let's see if this works. Probably missing something. No big deal. So this is working. This looks like something. So we have a body with a table. And that is closed off here. And then for some reason this why isn't it in the body? I'm probably making some kind of silly mistake. What if I just do disable these? Functional analytics true, marketing true. What if I do it like this? Var HTML equals, and at the end I'm gonna make do it like this. So everywhere I reference that, I'm just gonna say row or HTML, and only at the end I'm gonna add it to the. I think this is the. This might be better. Yeah, there you go. So of course we need to do some table styles, but here finally we have it's automatically created a table body with a table row and then functional true, marketing true, etc. I also want to include some other details because inside of this method we have a consent ID and a consent version, especially the consent ID. I want to list it here so people know, because I think if you want to what I'm thinking is if you save the consent, you might not store it anywhere, but you want to save it, let's say it like this. You might decide to store the consent somewhere, because right now we're not doing it, we're just saving it in a cookie. But if you're storing it somewhere, you want people to be able to kind of contact you and say, okay, my consent ID is this, and I want to remove my consent from your systems. So that's why I'm generating it beforehand. So later on, you might be able to store it, for instance, in your analytics software or somewhere else. So your preferences, functional true, analytics true, marketing true. And we could even display the description here as well. So category. And then we could do, for instance, a And let me see. So now we have a table. We're going to need to style that later on. And you probably want something more readable instead of true or false. So we're going to say if this is true, then it's something like accepted, or else denied. And this text should probably somewhere in the settings, because people want to be able to translate this. And now I have an error. Accepted is not denied. Okay, of course. Accepted. Denied. Yeah, there you go. And let's make it a little bit more readable. var is accepted equals, and we're going to pull it in from the preferences, consent ID. We want to be able to style our row, so that's why I'm going to say class equals, and then a class name that we're going to pull in ourselves. So we're going to say accepted or denied, or true or false. So class equals, let's give it just good class names everywhere. So class equals table. Let me give every row a good class name. And so this table row, and then the same, we give it a modifier, so a row so for instance here we have a row that has true because it's accepted, and here we have a row that is true because it's also accepted. Let's test this also for the scenario where people refuse cookies. So privacy statement. And currently I have the head here and a description in another label, but probably it would be more efficient to just put it side by side. So functional here. So let's do that as well. So instead of let's make it a table division that has the like a div I class equals like this, and then close off the division, and then make a new division, and probably this class name should be here, and then name, and then description, and then enter division. So that will give me the option of, yeah, you have basically a table with per row you have two cells, and the first cell has a name and a description, and here you just have accepted or denied. Okay, Yeah. We're getting somewhere. We need to style this later. But I think the only thing I want to do here is so we have displayed our preferences, like the we have changed preferences in the footer. And then we're just gonna, in the footer or in the body, gonna add the ID. So the ID is stored in the consent, under consent ID. So we're gonna pull it in. We're gonna say HTML plus equals, and probably you want to make it part of the main section. So HTML plus equals, and then we're gonna say div, and that div has a class name. Class equals body consent ID. Your consent ID is, and then do HTML plus is this preferences consent ID, yeah, and then finish your consent ID is, there it is. So a lot of the text here needs to be, we need to be able to translate it easily via the settings. So accepted, denied, change preferences, your consent ID equals. So so we're gonna do that later. For now, we're gonna style this. And I want to remove the console log here. So console log, this preferences. Oh. Yeah, I'm going to remove that here as well. So we might clean this up later. For now, let's move on and try to style this. So your preferences. And I want to give this the same visual style as the banner itself. So under clear cookie CSS, we're gonna do probably something at the bottom. Clear cookie settings, and then we might copy some styles here. So let's start here. And we probably want the font. Yeah, and we're gonna do this as well. Some general styles that we are using everywhere. So we're just going to repeat that for our settings as well. And you might wonder, why not just apply the clear cookie ID to our settings as well? Well, we have the banner and we have our settings on the same page, and you cannot use the same ID over multiple elements on the same page. So, and it's, so there you go. Also I want the font. Yeah, there you go. And I probably should make a button style. Or I already have that. Do I already have a button style? These are the toggles, the settings. It's in the footer, so it should be at the bottom. Yeah, footer button. I might just make this a clear cookie button, because I want to reuse those buttons. So let's so in our HTML, instead of doing this, we're just going to say clear cookie button, because it's a more general way of styling. And probably make the same change here. Clear cookie button. Let's go in and see if this still works. So my buttons are still functioning. This is good. But now I can go into the and of course I should accept all for now. Oh no, this is not working, because in my script I'm also referencing the long button classes. So button, probably in the button handler. So in the banner, yeah. So now it's working again. Clear cookie button. I might even generalize this document. So not only the buttons inside of the banner, but also on other places, for instance, in our privacy statement. So privacy statement, there you go. Let's try to style that button. So generate settings HTML. We have a button here that's, let's say, class equals clear cookie button. So for now it doesn't work, and that is because our CSS only applies to clear cookie button inside of this. So I kind of need to do this. Let's do it manually. Clear cookie button settings. Clear cookie button, comma, settings. And the reason that I'm doing all this is because I want a high specificity. Whenever you add this to your site, you need to be able to trust that the banner settings are going to override let me say it like this, the styles from your site are not going to interfere with the styles of your banner. Yeah, change preferences, there you go. And for some reason there is a width somewhere. So there's a margin and a width. clear cookie settings, box sizing. This one should be here as well. Yeah. Change preferences, and that could also be a primary button. So in here, I could do something like this, change preferences. And the Hoover is currently not working. I want to know why. Because it says it's probably now. Yeah, now it is. Okay, good. Okay, good. Your preferences, we're gonna derive that from our header style here as well. So we had our header title, which was just font size 20 pixels. So we're gonna do the same here. Clear cookie settings, and then we're gonna grab our header, and we're gonna say font size 20 pixels. Your preferences. Let's remove the semicolon, and let's say your cookie preferences. Okay, good. Let's do a so in the banner I had a line going like a small line and going underneath. Let's do the same here. So I'm just going to copy and remove what I don't need. So let's do display flex. I don't need it. I don't need all these. Margin, yeah, this is probably fine. Your cookie preferences. This is good. Well, now we need to style our table. And the table is called the clear cookie settings body table. Okay. And I haven't styled tables in a while. But usually what my experience has been that you need to just style the individual cells. That is the I do have a class name on the individual cells, so I can do something like this. And let's see what happens. So margin 0, padding 0. Remove space td css. Yeah, border collapse. There it is. Yeah, now it's all the space is gone. I want to do the alignment, so vertical align top. No. TD CSS alignment. I haven't done this in a while. So we're just gonna look for it. Table alignment. Text align center, text align left, vertical align. Vertical align. Exactly what I've done here. So why isn't this? Oh, it doesn't have the same class name, of course. So it's probably a little bit overkill also to do this. But I like consistency as well. So let's see. Oh no, of course not. Not here. Yeah, there you go. So now these all the cells have the same. Okay, now we can apply some spacing, and probably I'm gonna do the spacing to the right of the, or at least at the bottom. So let's do 0, 10, 0. Let's see how we styled our banner in the first place. So show settings, here we have the description. I'm gonna mimic the style on the settings as well. So this is the style here. Let me just and let's say color. Let's put the same color there. So here on the, oh, I need to accept all. Yeah, there you go. Functional cookies are necessary. And then on the header we have made it bold. So the category name has a font weight bold. Yeah, there you go. So, and probably the we need to make the styling here for the accepted categories. We need to make it green or maybe gray for the denied, and then for the required we need to come up with some kind of visual representation that you can kind of see that the category is currently is required, so you cannot disable it. Yeah, let's do that first. So clear cookie, we have build settings list. No, that's a different section. We need to get the, yeah, where, so if is accepted. Basically you have three flavors. It's required, people have accepted that category, or people have denied. So we know that the category is required from this categories list, because at the top here this categories required. You can just pull in the, and we're already inside of the category, so we can just say var is required equals category required. Well, since it's already there, we're probably just gonna go with var status equals is it required. If it's not required, we're gonna pull in, we're gonna find out if it's accepted. Okay, let's make it super readable. var is required. We're gonna pull it in from the category variable is required or is accepted, and then we can do something like No, because status true false, we don't want that. We want if it's required. So if it's required, var status is required. If it's accepted, let's do and else denied. Okie doke. So, and here we can just pull in the status. So we're gonna say instead of doing if else here, we're just gonna say pull in the status. And we're gonna pull in the status for the class name as well. So we have a class name accepted, a class name. Oh, I was expecting a required class name. So here, this one is required. So I was expecting, or else, if of course, silly mistake. So required. If it's not required, then is it accepted? And if it's not accepted, then it's denied. So, and we're gonna make that into a setting later on. So people need to be able to translate that quickly. So status. So required, accepted, accepted. And then the status. I want to modify that status into something with that is a little bit safer. So the status, we're going to modify that into something. Or no, we're gonna do it lowercase. Required, accepted, denied. Those are gonna be the IDs. And we're gonna make that translatable through where just a readable value is going to be shown here. So we can make that right now. It's not that hard. Categories, status, or maybe you just call it translation, or labels. Let's do, we have 3 labels right now. Required, let's just pull it in here. So denied, there you go. And then we just say required. And we say accepted. We say denied. And then somebody can just change these to verplicht in Dutch without changing these. Okay, so inside of the settings HTML function, we don't parse the status, but we parse the this labels and then the status name. So here, no, it's not working. So we have made an error. Prevent scroll while banner is visible. Oh, we probably just forgot a comma somewhere. Just made a silly mistake. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So it's here it says required, and then underwater it says required. And I want this to be stable. If you start translate this whole thing, you want the class name, of course, to stay the same, because we're going to make styles for this. And your consent ID, I kind of already like the style here. We're going to keep it very simple. Your consent ID, it needs a space character here. Are we still recording? We're still recording. Almost 2 hours in. We're doing good. I started earlier today because I didn't post a video. So we have more time today to finish this, which is good. Yes. Your consent ID equals. Where am I? I need to focus. So settings, HTML. Here we are. At the end, I'm saying your consent ID is, and there needs to be a space character. Yeah, there you go. And the consent ID, I want to wrap that with maybe a span class equals. And then we need to close that off here as well. Span. And what I want to do is these things. I want to style that with a mono-spaced font. That is just something that I like visually. So it's let's try it and see how it looks. So we have a couple of things that I want to style it like that. So clear cookie. Maybe we need to. Do we need a modifier class or like a utility class for that? Because I'm gonna use it a couple of times. Might do it like this. So clear cookie. No. Or yes, I'm not sure. Yeah, let me do clear cookie status. Here it is. So here we can do something like a span class equals clear cookie pre. And we can also just give it a name here that says something like label. So, but clear cookie pre, this is the thing that I want to style, and we're going to do the same with the ID here. Where are you? Yeah, there you go. So clear cookie pre, and probably our utility classes should have now in this case we're going to do clear cookie pre and clear cookie settings, and we're going to say font courier mono space, and it should probably be something like 12 pixels, not too large. And clear cookie pre. It's not working currently. Because I forgot a comma. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Do I like this? Kind of. It's too small for starters. We're gonna make it this gray. And to be honest, I just want to set the font size separate, and I want to set the font family separate. I don't want to set the line height. I want to keep the line height the same as it was. So this is good. And we want to give it a short, like, background color. Let's do I already have like a light background color? I think I do. Let's see if I can pull up the cookie banner here, show settings. Yeah, right here. I do have a background color here in my toggle. It's this color. Just gonna reuse that color here. I'm gonna say accept all. Hey, what was that? Show settings. It should say save settings here. What happened? I changed the class name somewhere. Button handler. Save preferences. Oh, here. Clear cookie button. Let's see if this still works. Show settings, save settings, hide settings. Yeah, it works again. So save settings again here required. Oh, this is probably a little bit too much. Let's try to find a better color. So background color. Let's make it a little bit brighter. And let's give it display inline block, because I want to give it a padding of like 4 pixels, and I want to give it a border radius of 4 pixels. So it's kind of this nice label, and instead of doing the padding 4 pixels, I want to do it 3 pixels, 5 pixels. So this has a maximum width. Clear cookie settings. Max width of, let's do 600 here. Or 800 or 700. No. I like it a little bit smaller. Your cookie preferences, functional, required, marketing. Your consent ID, and then change preferences. And then change preferences, of course, you just open up the banner. So in our button handler, where it is, yeah, event. So if we have a class name that says show, we want to just open up the banner. So do we have that class name on there? Settings, HTML. Do we have that class name on there? Show. No, of course. No, not yet. So by doing this, or show, yeah, there it will show the banner. And then you can do save settings. And then if somebody saves their settings, this should probably be updated. So save preferences. Store preferences consent. But if we're on basically the same conditions as here, we can just generate the settings HTML. And maybe we just need to put the conditions in there, so we don't need to do that twice. So we're, instead of checking here, we're just going to check inside of so let's do that real quick. So again, reviews all. No, this is not working yet. So again, I've denied everything. Let's accept everything. Cannot read properties of undefined, reading functional. In button click handler. In generate settings. HTML. This is what I changed, so it should be on line 2. Oh, of course, I need to pull in the new preferences as well. So this maybe just do this init. This init will just go reinitialize the whole banner. So it will pull the banner again, it will bring in the cookie preferences, it will check if the consent needs renewal, it will show the banner if we're on the right page. It will build the settings list. So basically going to reinitialize. It's going to do that yeah, this is probably the most clever way of doing this. So in this way I can revert this change, because we're going to do this in the initialize stage. I find that a little bit more readable to do in the initialize stage to see like the conditions where you're running that function. So that's why I'm reverting this. So inside of this function I can immediately see, okay, if we're on the cookie statement and if the banner settings element is present. So change preferences, I'm going to accept all. Okay, it's all accepted. I'm going to refuse all, it's denied. I'm going to show the settings, and this is now currently not working anymore. And why is that? Accepted. So on the second round, my change preference hide settings doesn't work anymore. Because it doesn't have the right class name. So somehow now it has a class name button settings. But if I kind of save the settings and then change preferences, now that settings class name is removed for some reason. This is the so I probably need to rename this, because this is we have settings inside of our cookie banner, which is this part, and we have settings inside of our preferences page. So I'm going to rename this to, oh, I think I did something wrong here. Yeah. Oh, I made another silly mistake. So I was reverting the wrong thing here. So let's test again. Show settings, hide settings, accept all, show set, no! Refuse all. Okay, still not working. We're 2 hours in. This is not going very fast, because we need to still have a lot of work to do. But I'm not gonna rush this, because people are gonna put this on their site. So this needs to be I want a little bit more spacing here, but I want it on the first table row. So we have some spacing here, so in between, but we don't have the spacing here because we don't need it there. And at the bottom of the table I want a little bit spacing as well. So we're doing a couple of things at the same time. That is how I like to work. So in our table, we have a margin bottom of 20 pixels. Let's do it like this. Maybe not that much. And in at the bottom of this one, the same thing. even do a little bit more here. Okay. Your cookie preferences. Does the whole thing itself need a little bit more spacing? So clear cookie settings, let's do margin 30 pix 0. We could do auto, that will center the whole thing. Maybe just left align it. One thing that I also like to do is these buttons can be like full width. So let's do clear cookie button. So change preferences, accept all, and then this is where I'm going to deviate, because they also have their own. Oh no, they don't. So %. So in change preferences, and then I should probably do, because they have spacing in between of 30, 30, so minus 60 pix. That's not exactly what I wanted. Oh, of course, 20. So we have two. So the button has 15, so 30 in total. Let me, so it's 15 times 3. Oh, of course, 15 pixels. This shouldn't be that hard. Yeah, there you go. So this is something that I kind of like as a button style. So application. So I want the buttons to be exactly the. So let's test it here. So they cannot be 33%. Then they are on this on a different line, and that is I can do calc minus 30 pix. And this is because my footer okay. So I have a -15 on the footer, and that gives all the buttons. I can have 3 buttons in a row. The buttons have 15 pixels on the right as well. And then is it this? Yeah, that was it. Do we prefer this style, yes or no? So let's try to revert this. So it's either this one or this one. Which one do we like better? I think I like this one better. Show settings, hide settings. Yeah. So it's already 100%. Let's check responsive here. So this is not working yet, and that is because because of specificity. So let me do instead of give it a name button, oh, of course it's just here in the this is where we changed it, but instead of, let's just also add this class to the button as well. So we have a utility class that we're using to style our button, but we have a like the block element modifier class convention for our specific styles for that specific button. So in our styles, I'm gonna do this, set the width here. I'm also gonna set the width here. And that's not on the general style, that is only on the specific style. Yeah, now it works. And I'm kind of wondering, oh, of course, clear cookie button. Of course I need to change this button list here as well, because I have 2 pages. Got 2 pages, so I need to change it here as well. Yeah, accept all, refuse all, show all. Great, accept all, and we're gonna go into the privacy statement page, and this button is gonna get its own specific class name as well. So this one is managed here, settings, HTML. I think it's here, yeah. And we have the button here, and we're gonna say clear cookie settings footer -- button, and this class name will determine specifics like the width of that button. And we're gonna style that down below here. So clear cookie settings with 100%. So that's the change preferences. That's gonna be just the whole width. Change preferences. Currently not working anymore. Do we get errors? Do we have errors? We don't have errors. It's just not working. So we have button primary, button show. So we have a button handler. And let's see if this is even functioning. Console log event. Do we get an error? Yeah, we get a pointer event. So we're looking at the target here. So the target, yeah. The target has a class name of button show, and we're gonna make that show banner. I want to make it a little bit more specific. So in my settings list, this button is managed here, initialized here, so we're gonna make it button show banner. For some reason the show banner method doesn't work. So show banner is a method. Let's just console log to see if this is even if the code reaches this stage. No. But it does reach this stage. So for some reason we're not reaching index of setting. So I think there's something wrong with my class names here. So I'm just gonna make them a little bit more specific. So accept all, deny all, save settings, show setting, hide settings. So of course we need to make this change in our, so accept all, save settings, I guess, save settings, yes. Then we have a show settings, and then we have a hide settings, and we have deny all. And then of course this button list, we need to update it here as well. Yeah, this makes the whole thing function again. Show settings, let's do accept all. So something is not working. Accepted. Show settings, accept all doesn't work. Of course, so we have yeah, here. Show settings, save settings, hide settings. I believe those are the names. So change preferences, accept all, refuse all, everything denied, show settings. Show settings should hide settings, save settings. So what if I save settings and I want to hide? Save settings. Yeah. So I have a slight problem with the buttons because the state is not refreshed whenever I save these settings. So it's gonna open up. That's for some reason is giving me a little bit of a headache. What I can do about it is I can force a refresh, because that's gonna make it all go away, because then I know for sure what the state is. But I don't want to do that, so I'm gonna find a better solution, but I'm gonna take a short break before I'm gonna do that. So see you in a bit. Yes, I'm back. So where were we? We're still making this preferences pane, there are a couple of things that I want to do here. Show the settings. So I'm gonna rename this into show preferences pane. Show the preferences pane on the privacy statement. So preferences pane, that should not do anything wrong here, but preferences pane, and then inside of that function, this banner setting. So at the top of the whole thing, we have this dot preferences pane. So we have a banner and we have a preferences pane. Those are the two elements. And instead of clear cookie settings, probably want to make this into the clear cookie banner. And here clear cookie preferences pane. So it's just a consistent naming across all, like everything that we're doing. So the banner, clear cookie banner, clear cookie banner. The privacy statement, I'm gonna say clear cookie preferences pane. And again, in the CSS, we have a lot of clear cookie settings and clear cookie. Yeah, so let's do clear cookie preferences pane and let everything with a clear cookie regular class name. Let's just make it into banner. So we have, like, it's super consistent. This is the preferences pane and we have a banner. Alright, change preferences, show settings, hide settings, show settings, and then if you just do analytics, this works. But if you didn't want to change your settings, marketing, now it doesn't work. Now it doesn't work. So for some reason on the second round it doesn't work, and I want that to be, I want it to work as expected. So accept all will work, refuse all works, show settings, and then just marketing works. But then as soon as you open it up for the second round, it doesn't work as expected. I want to know why. So let's go ahead and find out. So can I come up with a reason myself? So change preferences, show settings. So it's, and for some reason hide settings also is gone. So what happens whenever so this, I can remove this. Whenever I save, it seems to happen whenever I save the save state. Maybe it's here. Settings hidden. So I'm gonna remove the state here. Don't need it. To be honest, I don't think I need it. So for some reason I'm losing a couple of class names here. So show settings, accept all, and now so it does change the I know what I've done. So a button click handler is initialized twice. Whenever you save, you're gonna redo the whole thing. But I don't want that. Okay, so I understand what happens. So on load, the initialize method is loaded, and then all the buttons are loaded, so to speak, with a function. So as soon as somebody clicks this function needs to run, and then that will perform all the actions. So on accept all, it's going to accept all cookies. On save preferences, it's going to save everything. But as soon as I click accept all, it's going to rerun the initialize method. And I do that because I want to update this piece of code here. But it's gonna load for the second time the same function on a button click, and so it's gonna run that function twice for every button click. So I need to exclude some things here. So I'm gonna say banner has loaded equals false. And then as soon as the banner has loaded for the first time, I'm going to say is true. Save state. And then the second time I'm running this function, I know that the banner already has loaded. So if banner has loaded, if it's not true, then we're going to load all the buttons. So and instead of banner has loaded, this applies to the whole thing. So I'm just going to do has loaded. Change preferences. So currently it's not working at all. If has loaded is not. So okay, let's make it readable. If has loaded equals false. If it's not loaded, then load the button click handler. Doesn't work. Okay. Let's go to the banner itself and let's see if it works there. If it does work there. So again, application, let's remove this one. Accept all. No, but this doesn't work anymore. So let's see what is going on. Of course, has loaded. It's not a regular variable, but it is a property. Now it works. Yes. Okay, thank you. So going back into the privacy statement, change preferences, accept all, everything is accepted. And on the second round, I cannot. So now it's dropped this button as well, but I need this button to load. This is all getting very complicated. Not seeing a clear route forward. Let's All right, I already see what I need to do. So I need to go in and per button check if it needs to be reinitialized. So instead of saving the state on a global level, what I'm doing here, I need to save the state per button. So so I'm just saving the state here. So buttons I dataset dot is loaded. I'm just gonna do set it to true. So probably this is gonna say is loaded true. Yeah. So instead of setting it like this, I'm gonna put an if statement in between. I'm gonna say if is loaded is even there, so it's not null. If it's null, so if it's not there, we're gonna load a click handler, and then we're gonna say if loaded is true. So change preferences, accept all. I think we're there. Hide, show settings, analytics, save settings, accepted, denied, marketing. Yeah, we're there. This is it. So we solved that problem. We don't want to reinitialize this button click handler twice, so it's we might only want to change that name. So now it has a property, has event listener. True. Okay, fine. I think we're almost there. We might need to do some conditional styling here, or want to do some conditional styling. So what we can do here in the clear cookie CSS, we can give our consent ID a color based on the underlying row. So the row has, for instance, a required, or let's do accepted first. So marketing, marketing is denied. Okay, I'm gonna accept all. Let's do accepted. So here we have it. So there you go. So we have an accepted class name, and then the consent ID, we're going to give it a background color, and we're going to find a green. Let's consent ID. Of course not the consent ID, but we want the label here. So the cookie, yeah, there you go. So this is green. Of course it's too dark, so we're gonna find a better green. So maybe something like this here, and then color green as well. Accepted. Oh, and to be honest, I prefer a hex code. So let's do it like this, and let's also do it like this, and maybe put in a darker green. A little bit more fresh. No, prefer this one. Maybe make this background color a little lighter, so maybe even more. Accepted, required, and by refuse all. Maybe we can make it red. So let's do red. And then red here as well. And then say and of course I want the hex code instead of the RGB value. Denied. Okay. And we could do a and I kind of would like this to be aligned with the description here. So I know the height of this because I have the but that will probably not be very handy. Maybe we should just center the whole thing. Let's try that real quick. So vertical line, middle. No. Not quite sure about this styling, to be honest. No, visually making it green and red, I think it helps. Just make it a little bit more readable. Font weight, bold. No. Okay. Let's so we have a piece of code to see current preferences, open the banner and manage the preferences. So we've basically finished this whole thing. We're going to make some data layer calls. This shouldn't be so hard. So save preferences. And then store preferences, and I could do a data layer call here. So this call data layer call and then the consent is stored already, so I probably can just make it like this. So data layer call equals function and then data layer let's make it safe. So data layer push. I think I have it in a. I stored it somewhere, but I never. Let me find it. Data layer push window data layer. I always go to Julia's website for this because I want this. I want it to be safe. So if the data layer is not there, it's not going to give us trouble. But if the data layer is there, so we're basically gonna we're gonna come up with an event. So it should probably be something like clear cookie save preferences, something like this, because this is only run whenever somebody saves their preferences. And then what I can do is I can let me see what I want to do here. Save preferences. Do I want to make parameters here? So clear cookie consent. I might build it out later. So because I could put all the categories in the data layer as well, but I want to be honest, to be by default, I don't pull the consent values from the data layer because the data layer is often a little bit too late. I just pull them directly from the cookie. So whenever you run this this data layer event, you should be able to just pull the values directly from the cookie here. So accept all application and here you can pull in the different values. So yeah. I could also do a data layer call for okay, let's elaborate a little bit on here. So data layer call. So and I'm gonna call save preferences. So event name. So plus event name. So we can elaborate a little bit. So because on the initialize method at the end, we could do a data layer call as well. So this data layer call loaded, for instance. And then we could pull in the consent settings if we want to. So we could do something like make a clear cookie consent equals this preferences consent. So from the data layer you would have a clear cookie loaded with the clear cookie consent with all the values, or even just a clear cookie and just pull in the preferences. So again, data layer, you just have clear cookie, and you just have the preferences there. Clear cookie preferences. But how does this work whenever you're not, whenever the banner is not visible? Oof, I don't want to see this. I want to hide it by default. And we didn't come up with a fallback for when consent is not being given. Okay, we need to go back there soon. So, because we have scenario where consent hasn't been given, and I want to hide the banner whenever, or it probably is not necessary, but hide whenever some by default, should I say. If something goes wrong and the banner doesn't load, you don't want something like this in your viewport. Okay. Also, this open transition, I don't like that, so I want something quicker. So inside of we're going to look for transition. It's probably on the buttons. And I only need a transition on the background color and the box shadow. So I probably can do something like this. Yeah. So I don't have this transition on load anymore. So that's good. Accept all. I wanted to know whatever happens whenever I'm loading it in this scenario. Prior consent, data layer. Do I still get a, yeah, I get a preferences is undefined. Which is okay. It's not there. But if you start pulling in, for instance, the consent and the consent ID from you get undefined values. Accept all. If you now run data layer again, you have save preferences and loaded. And save preferences is a JSON value. And here it is undefined again. So something is going not so well. Clear cookie preferences. Why is it a JSON string here? So I'm gonna make this a little shorter. So this preferences, get preferences. It's just gonna read it from a cookie. If it's there, it's gonna parse it. This is the way to go. So get preferences. However, on save preferences and then store preferences, it's building up. It's also saving it here, and I don't want that. Just write it to a cookie. Or to be honest, I do want it. Save preferences. Store preferences. Store preferences. But I'm already doing that by calling the init whenever somebody saves it, the preferences. So okay, probably got rid of that bug as well. So accept all. Data layer, what is in here? So we have a loaded. This was the first on load. Clear cookie, save preferences. Somehow, and here on the load, it did load the preferences. We need to bring in the cookie preferences before we call the if I want to send the preferences here, I need to bring in the cookie preferences first, or maybe just initialize first. Yeah. Okay, let's do it again. Accept all. Right now we have in the data layer 3 values. First should be a clear cookie loaded with a scenario of like first visit. Clear cookie loaded. Oh, of course, because we ran init clear cookie, and then clear cookie save preferences is gonna just give us. I think this is really nice. Let's go into the privacy statement. Refuse all. So I would expect another clear cookie loaded. This is the first one, has everything accepted. The second one has everything denied, except for functional, of course. Analytics false. Yeah, that's good. And then we have a save cookie preferences where you can reinitialize your tagging if you need to. Because the way I like to work, I like to set up all my tags on the init trigger, and then only work on this exception, say save preferences. So that will give me the least amount of hassle with race conditions, they say. So where the order of the tags is out of sync. But I believe many people are used to using something like this, clear cookie loaded. And then I don't want to I want to give people the opportunity to use that as well. Okie doke. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. We can even do tracking on how do people save the preferences, and I'm just pull in the true or false here. Clear cookie consent. Yeah, so there's basically going to be an easy way of implementing and a more advanced way of implementing, but nonetheless, I'm really happy on how this is turning out. Also the consent ID, let's see what happens if I switch it. So it's 028, and now it's changing. So every time I renew my consent, I get a different consent ID. Yeah, I'm really happy of how this is turning out, and I can basically check this already off my list. But of course we need to go back into this list. We have this done, but scenario where consent hasn't been given is not working yet. So let's remove this, and then it says your cookie. It should say something like your cookie preferences, and then show preferences pane. So we're gonna bring this in because there's some general HTML needed. Your cookie preferences, and then the closing HTML, I'm gonna bring that in here. And of course not the button, but the last div here. So or maybe I want that button there. Let's keep it. Let's see what your cookie preferences. This is good. And then we're just gonna say something like and then we might just use the body class name here, settings body. So we're just gonna say HTML plus equals div class you haven't set. So we should be able to escape this character here. I'm not quite sure how. Usually you are able to do that with a backslash. You haven't set your preferences yet, div, and then closing. Let's see if this works. You haven't set your preferences yet. Okay, I noticed that there's no margin in between here, so it's only the button that has a so we need a 15 pix margin on the body itself. So we already did a 15 pix margin, but we did it on the consent ID. I want to do this on the body. Let's see if this works. Yeah. And then change preferences, accept all, and now you see the preferences here. Change preferences, refuse all. Should you be able to, do you need to be able to completely erase your preferences? I don't think so. Yeah. So application, if you just want to erase your preferences here, you haven't set your preferences yet. Do we need that text here, there? I think so. You haven't set your... And let's check for consistency between the copy here, your privacy preferences, and then if you go your cookie preferences. Okay. Let's make that the same. So let's set your privacy preferences. And then of course, instead of saying change preferences, we just need a button that says set your preferences. So that's the thing we're going to do different here. So the closing div is going to be here, and then HTML plus equals. This is where, oh, oops. It's a, this is what, yeah, at the top here you haven't set your preferences. Set your preferences. And then you can get this one. your privacy preferences. Do we really need that line? Because every line that you add is a line you should set your preferences, of course. Every line that you include in the banner is a line that we need to maintain and translate and things like that. So your privacy preferences, set your preferences. But then you have the ability to read this. And of course, if you set your preferences and you accept all, this will fill out the privacy preferences. Your privacy. And then it's change preferences. I kind of like this. Set your preferences. No, I think there's a kind of a state needed. So, and with state I mean some kind of message. You haven't set your preferences yet. Almost like a status or something like that. So strong status. Yeah, I think this is like a very easy, simple solution. Okay, so and hide the banner by default. This is something that I really like to do, is to make sure that if something in the script is off, or maybe there's an error, or it doesn't load, that you don't see like a half of a banner. So that's why I'm gonna set the preferences pane. I'm gonna set it to clear cookie hide. For some reason it's not hidden. Oh, or I might need to do the so I'm gonna do it here, clear cookie hide, and then we're gonna unhide it by saying this show, and then just unhide the element, fill out inner HTML. So we, instead of reading from the cookie directly, we could do something like this, preferences probably. Yeah, because if that is undefined, we know that is, and the same goes for consent preferences given. We can probably remove this altogether and just say This preferences are null. Yeah, good. Still working. Set your preferences, accept all. Great. This is really nice how it turned out. I really like it. Hide the banner by default. The next thing on the list is making this, integrating this with GTM. So we're gonna clean up the code, make all text and settings customizable, make it easily. We need to test it also. So test from within GTM. And probably the compression part needs to go first. Let me see. Do I still have time for this? Yeah, we're gonna take maybe another hour for this. Let's see how it goes. I always have a hard time estimating the time that it really takes, but let's go. First of all, clean up the code. So privacy statement. The code here, I think it's quite nice. Let's go ahead into the script here. We start with settings. So far I'm really happy. Labels. So we're gonna probably need a couple of more different translations. So the same as what we do here. This labels status. We're gonna so your privacy preferences. We're gonna just do it one by one. Your privacy preferences is gonna be your privacy maybe not. Let's do it camel case. All right. So now this one is dynamic. We can customize it. Let's go ahead into status. So again, the word status needs translation. Needs to be able to. You need to be able to translate that. So again. So let's see if that still works. Status, yeah, you haven't set your preferences yet. So again, it's this one. Again. No preferences yet. Let's not make it too long. And then write it like this. So again, check. Yeah, it's still working. Probably the text in the buttons as well. So in this case, set your preferences. Set preferences. And all right, I just noticed that the recording stopped working because my external hard drive was full. So I apologize. I did a couple of things off screen. I went through the code again, and I made all text settings customizable, and I already tested it on my own site, and the banner works pretty good on my site. But there's one thing that I want to change here, and that is on the privacy settings panel. If you have set your privacy settings, the table element will not work, and it won't. On my site, a table is styled a specific way with a border at the bottom, and this is a good example of where the styling of a site might interfere with the styling of the banner. So I'm going to revert that back into a not a table. So it's not semantically the best way of dealing with it, but it's I think necessary to keep it as like general as possible. So I'm going to make it a regular table, or I'm going to make it a div that's called a table, and the div ends here. And instead of a table row, I'm just going to make it a div that's called a table row. And instead of a TD, I'm just going to call it, it's a div, but it's called a table division. And here the same. So, and we need to close it off with a div as well. And here as well. So it almost makes no difference, except for that the required is now below. So we're going to fix that by going into our CSS, and we're going into our pane, body table row, so probably this part, and we're going to say display flex. And flex will always just put things next to each other, and this is exactly what I want. So it was simpler than I thought. The other thing that we could do is, instead of making a table style, make it required in line with the header. So if we're not, now that I think about it, no, I'm not going to do that. First of all, I don't want to go into another round of hassle. Secondly, I like the way that it is like very readable. So I really like how it works. It works really well. The red color might be a little bit off. Again, I'm colorblind, so I'm always a little bit insecure about choosing the right colors. But again, I don't feel like going through like the entire hassle, so I'm just gonna keep it like it is right now. And I already tested it in GTM. It does work. We made, and that's another thing that I did off screen. I got the settings, I made it into its own object, so I can compress this part because I want to make it the file size as low as possible, and then this part is still readable. Yeah, so yeah, or I might even want to do this at the top, so maybe do like a var clear cookie settings, and then just put it at the top of the script, and then do clear cookie settings like this, so I can compress. So you have the settings at the top, and then you can just compress the rest of the script. So we're going to compress this. All right. let's do that. So I'm gonna duplicate, and again, I'm kind of manually doing this right now, and this is probably hurting somebody's eyes, but I don't want to set up an entire like build procedure or like command line tools. I don't want to hassle with that, so I'm just gonna do it like this. So compress. I just found a compression thing that I really liked. So where are you? Uglify. Yeah. So the code goes here. And again, I don't want to minify everything. I want to from line 33. So this is the part that I'm going to minify. And I'm going to say wrap lines. So at the top, I have my settings, and then I have the rest compressed. So this is the most dense way of writing this. I'm going to do the same for my style sheet, and the style sheet is going to be a little bit different because you probably want to set some colors or something. So there are two ways we can do this. We can either just compress everything and then override it later. Because let's be honest, what are the things that people want to... What are the things that people would want to change? Probably the buttons, the button style. So this one. And the header. Like the... Okay, let me reset the cookie banner. So the things that people would want to change are probably this read more color, this color, and the button colors, and plus all the hover colors. And this image, of course, but that's just in the HTML. And of course, if somebody wants to do more customization, so right, like here you have the same color. But if people want to do more customization, you always can write your own CSS styles. So some web developer or designer who's really tech savvy would always be able to just write their own styles here. So kind of wondering, are we gonna just compress? Can I compress it with the same tool, by the way? Probably not. No, this is not JavaScript. So I need to CSS compress online. Yeah, something like this. Minify. So this is a minified output, but you probably don't want to mess with minified CSS all the time. Okay, I think my time is up. Let's make a decision here. Next week I'm gonna make another video, probably 2 videos. One where I package up the whole thing. So I'm gonna export it, make it a downloadable, which you can just download to your site into your GTM, and I'm gonna make a video how to actually install it on your site. And if that's all done, I'm gonna release it to the public. So for now, my time is up, unfortunately. So I'm gonna quit recording now, quit building out the cookie banner. It's always good to leave it for a week and just because sometimes in the middle of a week I'm reminded of something that I missed. So but I think this is a very sturdy solution that we have built so far. So it took me a little longer than I expected. I had expected to be done by now, but we're gonna compress the whole thing. We're gonna test from within GTM. I already did that, but we're gonna do it again. We're gonna make it easily downloadable, easily customizable. That's what we're gonna do. Of course, there are a couple of things that that I'm not gonna do. Maybe in a follow-up version or a premium version. I don't know yet. But multi-language support is not there at the moment. I'm thinking about an option that like speeds it up. Like an optimized version. I don't know, this seems quite fast so far, but it's not altogether. We do have a couple of lines of code. For instance, the minified version of the cookie banner is 7 kilobytes, and the CSS probably around 3 minified. So maybe we would need a more optimized version later on. Keep tracking parameters, single tag implementation that includes consent mode. So there are a couple of things that I'm not going to include here that might be included in a separate version later. All right, I'm having a lot of fun so far, but probably just only 2 or 3 people are going to watch all this. But if you're still watching, much respect, and I hope this is helpful to you. All right, see ya.